At the World Internet Conference in Wuzhen, eastern Zhejiang Province in China, the head of powerful AI companies came together to discuss the future of the industry. These guys are known as China's six little dragons. A key takeaway from the conference was that this very ominous double comment made by the representative for DeepSeek, which is the Chinese, basically ChatGPT. Think of it like that. The representative said DeepSeek affirms its commitment to developing AGI. Those of you who don't know, AGI is basically the AI holy grail, right? It's artificial general intelligence, what theoretically would be capable of working like a human brain, flexible, adaptable, unrestricted, by and large. Not a tool for a certain niche like AI currently is, like a chat generator, an image generator, a video generator, not restricted like that. No, generally intelligent, like a person is, right? That's the goal, that's the dream for these guys at least. AGI, remember the term. That was the first comment by DeepSeek, them saying, we're working towards AGI, that's our commitment. The second thing they said was a warning. The technology, they said, these are AI experts telling us about AI, hear them out. The technology is heading towards something that more and more citizens across the world are seeing, and these experts are seeing it even more clearly. Their statement is that if AI does see a breakthrough become general, AGI, blinkers into existence, it will mean the job loss of countless millions across the globe. An AI apocalypse, if you will. That's the news. So yeah, it's a bit doom and gloom. See you on the next one. But for those who want to understand my geopolitical analysis, how this ties into that, stick around, here we go. Before we carry on, remember, I have a 340,000 plus follower account on TikTok. If you're watching on TikTok, but not on that huge account, check what account you're watching this video on. If it's not a huge following like that, you're watching a copycat scam account. Block them, report them, come back to the real Baba. Now, I want to point out, back to the analysis, I want to point out something interesting. In the coming AI apocalypse, if it does indeed end up being anywhere near as bad as some are saying it would be, if millions of people, for example, do lose their job to an AI robot workforce, basically, AI employees, there's two countries most likely to see this happen. Two countries where this breakthrough in AI, from AI to AGI, is likely to occur in. Those are the two great powers of our age, the United States and China. The US, make no mistake, is clearly in the lead, but China is not decades behind, as some once said. They're not years behind, as many once said. By some estimates, China is now just a few months behind in the AI race to the end. End of what? Humanity, potentially. But anyway, let's just gloss over that. The great power competition keeps both of these nations hurtling towards AGI, the ultimate breakthrough, without any guardrails, any safety measures properly considered. Everything is scaled back, everything is sort of brushed under the carpet in terms of artificial intelligence safety mechanisms. Safety, you see, equals slowdown, and these two are in a flipping race. You can't be slowing down. Better to be fast and maybe unsafe than to be safe, slow down intentionally, and then your rival unlocks the key technology first. Can't be having that, right? This is a Cold War 2.0 great power situation. Competition going on, right? This is where geopolitics meets basically the fundamental technology of our age, AI. The thing is, who cracks AGI first, by my analytical assessment, is very important. The world could look very different depending on who hits it first. Or different parts of the world could end up looking very different depending on when AGI becomes a thing. If the US makes the AGI breakthrough, the power will largely be in the hands of the oligarchs, essentially, right? The wealthy few who have power and influence currently unmatched in the United States. In America, they've stacked the legislation, they've stacked the government officials, they've stacked even the president in their favor. Deep pockets filled with the wealth of the few and leashes around the very strategic necks so that the rich can keep getting richer and the common American citizen is reduced to trying desperately to make a living, just to get by, just to live in this country that's supposedly the wealthiest in the world. In a country that gets richer overall, but all that new wealth is being poured by the majority. That new wealth is being poured into the pockets of the already rich 1%. If China wins the race, it looks, analytically speaking, based on publicly available information, the situation looks very different. If China wins the race, if China achieves AGI, general intelligence first, my assessment is things would be different. How? Well, and why? Well, in China, the tech companies, let me just grab a sip of this tea. I'm thinking of starting my own tea brand. What do you guys think? Leaves without the Western spin. Anyway, in China, the tech companies are powerful, right? They are wealthy. This isn't communism. This is a common misunderstanding. This isn't communism in China, pure communism. It's socialism with Salt Bay Chinese characteristics sprinkled in. It's socialism with a dash of capitalism. So in China, you have billionaires, you have millionaires, but above all of them, above everyone else in authority and power, sits the standing committee. Above all sits the Chinese state. To them you must salute. To them you must defer. Of their command you must obey. It doesn't matter how rich you are. And this, paternalistic state, they watch over the Middle Kingdom and all that goes on in it. My assessment: if artificial general intelligence is achieved by China, first place or second place, the state won't let it be used by companies for mass layoffs that will lead to a job market focused AI apocalypse where millions are left jobless, unemployed, hopeless, right? The state will put a leash on that AGI as soon as it blinkers into existence and use it for the benefit of the Chinese state, maybe even use it for the benefit of humanity as a whole, depends how things pan out. Robot astronauts, robot deep divers, robot rescue workers, robot assistants, robot soldiers in conflict, so lives aren't lost in kinetic war. Also, citizens' consent for future war is boosted, for that last example I gave, giving the state a huge amount of power, a huge amount of unpaid workforce, basically, that they can use very well or abuse, depending on how you see it and depending on how things pan out. China would be capable of all of that if they, or one of their companies more accurately, had a breakthrough in AGI. But it's very likely that software and hardware that replaces 90% of human jobs within half a decade just being released out into the wild by the 6 little dragons in China, that's not likely, right? Throwing the Chinese workforce into a jobless abyss, not likely. The state is unlikely to let a handful of companies in the Middle Kingdom get filthy rich and make 90% of people jobless in the country as those few get rich. The collapse of China's economy, that's not likely to be allowed. Paternalistic CPC, the Chinese Communist Party, the Chinese government, essentially, currently a misnomer, obviously, because they're not actually pure communist anymore. The CPC, the Chinese government, would not allow that. So the outcomes are potentially very different depending on who cracks AGI first. The titan of North America with its late-stage capitalism on the one hand, or the titan of Asia with its socialism, capitalism, hybrid model on the other hand. In the former, in America, where the rich buy most of the political power and keep themselves taken very well care of, very, very well cared for, AGI may be allowed to run away, right? Might be allowed by the state to just completely run away. The companies will become holders of the keys to the kingdom if they don't hold the keys already, or they'll hold an even better set of keys then. In the latter, in China, the centralized government, though not faultless, I'm not a blind China supporter, I'm giving you the facts though. The centralized Chinese government, at least in this domain, in AI, are far more likely to care for all their citizens and not just the 1%, and therefore they're likely to prevent runaway AGI usage by big Chinese companies. They'll keep them reeled in. They'll say, yes, you can make a profit, but you can't lead to tens of millions of job losses in the country. We can't allow that. We'd rather see your company burn than see that happen. They might take AGI and put it into the domain of state control only. Companies, you can't use it. Here, you can have a few breadcrumbs. But America has no sort of governance guard. I was still talking, I was still rambling, I was still meandering when the video got cut off. So I guess that's a sign that it's past 10 minutes and I should wrap it up. I hope this has been an interesting one. Artificial intelligence has a huge geopolitical contributing factor, and generally, as part of the news, it's very much a charged topic. There's sort of conspiracy theorists on one side, there's people who completely dismiss it on the other side, but the facts do show that this technology is likely to play a very key, very pivotal component of the future that we are all headed towards. How it's going to be handled depends on the state that handles it, depends on the mood of collectively the state apparatus in whatever country discovers it, etc., etc. We'll get into it more in future analytical and news pieces. Till then, for the unbiased news and analysis without the Western spin, ladies and gentlemen, it continues to be a pleasure to present to you the stuff I do, obviously. My name is Mahfouz, or NewsBaba, and I'll see you on the next one.